Okay, we're back here. I had to take a little bit of a breather with an important phone call. But let's see. Yeah, we're gonna mulligan this. Unfortunately, we'll go down, and this sucks too. It's gonna be awesome if we win. Let's see. My opponent molds is playing first and is keeping the hand. Yeah, we're gonna mold this also. Oh, this is better. We'll keep her. Nice, good two drops. We get to draw a card. So I gotta have to be a little bit careful with time because I ate up the first 5 minutes. I'm playing a control deck. My opponent's playing blue. We'll see if I smoke 88 is aggressive or controlling as well. We'll see if white comes down. Double blue. That's good for us, actually. Omen speaker. Okay, that's a-okay. And my opponent gets to think about scrying for a memento. And then we'll put our defenses up with Return Phalanx, follow up with the Melt to Charlatan, and who knows, maybe we'll do a double Voyages End in the future. Ooh, Sip of Hemlock, that will be good. So I'm working with a new mic here. I'm not too sure if it's better or worse than my old mic. I did some testing, so hopefully this is pretty nice for you guys. I listened to it before, it sounded nice, but this is the first full draft recording, and I haven't completely heard it yet. Okay, so do I want the 2-3 down? I'm taking 2 in the air. I guess that's fine. I gotta start setting things up anyway, right? Yeah. So we'll just maximize mana. All there is a null or Triton Tactics, and I could care less about either. But soon this Vaporkin's gonna have to go down. Flyers are our death. But for the Sip of Hemlock taking out Vaporkin would not be amazing, but it looks like my opponent's also in the defensive mode here. We each have 3 cards in hand, because I mulled twice, my opponent mulled once. So card advantage is pretty even. And we do have a pretty decent board state. If my opponent wants to attack him with Vaporkin, I get to attack him with the Charlatan, leaving up mana. My opponent can easily block, but we'll see. No blocks. Ooh. And a 4 here. We're just going to leave up Voyage's End. I could play... The Biffle Island one doesn't really matter right now because it's really the air game. But I think I want to keep Voyage's End available. Let's see if my opponent does anything silly, like not... Or not blocking. Yeah, it's a free attack. That's fine. So I'm totally representing a Griptide or Voyage's End right now. Ooh, white. So my opponent is looking to kind of beat down, but I like that Voyage's End is now available. Because we should be able to do some decent things against a blue-white deck with Voyage's End. It's one of the cards that hoses all of their targeting abilities. So as long as we don't die too much in the air, could be okay. Ooh, and a Kraken. That will be good if we ever get anything. I'm still happy just to kind of play this wait game while I draw out of my Mana Screw. It does allow my opponent to draw out of a Mana Screw. Breaching Hippocamp? Okay, go for it, bud. I'll have to make a trade-off in one way or another with the Breaching Hippocamp. I'll probably use the Return Phalanx because my mana's going to be screwed for a while, so I'm not going to be wanting to activate it. Whereas the Charlatan might actually become relevant considering I have a Sip of Hemlock and Voyage's End in hand. My opponent should bash in with both right now. Yeah, so I'll make the block here. Might mean I'm using the Voyage's End on something. Or my opponent could just be letting this go down. Yep, opponent just lets it go. Ooh, double Voyage's End. That is nice, and I think we're just going to snap one off right away. On my opponent's turn, I should say, not right away, because I do want to scry and dig for that land, and we're going to start saving some damage off this Vaporkin. We'll see if my opponent wants to start getting greedy. Ooh, 100-handed one. Playing that first, huh? Okay, so I can save the damage now, or I can keep stalling and get rid of this 100-handed one. Ooh, attacking with everything, are you? I see, I see. Go in there for sure. And then do I want to bounce the Vaporkin? I think I kind of do, because if I draw a land, I can put my Baleful Eidolon on the Charlatan, and that starts protecting against the 100-handed one. Yeah, I'm going to do it. Mainly because I have this backup. And we're just looking to stay alive now. And it's because my opponent can't replay it. If my opponent could replay it, then put on top. Yes, please. Yay! Okay. I think we just put Baleful Eidolon on the Charlatan. Yeah. I could have just played it naturally, but I like that the Charlatan will stay alive until 100-handed one does monstrosity. That's good to me. And we're definitely going to stay on defense here. If we draw a land next turn, we have some nice options with our 6-drops, or we can use Voyage's End with Charlatan trigger. I do want to start killing things. It should be F6, huh? Interesting. So my opponent attacked in. Must be a combat trick, but I'm happy to do a 2-for-1. Could be God's Willing protection from blue, but I still get the Baleful Eidolon back, so we're just going to force that out. Or not? That's interesting. What just happened? 5. What is my opponent playing? Battle-wise Hoplite? Okay, my opponent got sloppy there and just threw away a 100-handed one. Because, yeah, we're going to have this pretty well in hand now. Sip of Hemlock will probably take out the Vaporkin. Do I care about the Kraken right now? Or do I just want to kill... Yeah, I might get another card. If my opponent's really being aggressive, there might be like a suit up. So I think I have time to get the Kraken down now. Because I'm not going to die this next turn. Worst case is what, like a Dauntless Onslaught or something? Puts me precariously low, but I'm still in a good position. Ooh, that's what's happening here. So maybe I have to kill the Cavalry Pegasus with Sip of Hemlock? Ooh, the Ordeal comes down. But my opponent can't attack with the Hoplite. Voyage's End is probably going to take out the Pegasus and a Battlewise Hoplite when it attacks. Well, this is grand, don't you think? What do I want to do? I love having Voyage's End and the Charlatan available. Problem is I won't be able to block when that happens. As in, I couldn't block and then use Voyage's End and its ability, because the idea is get rid of the Pegasus so that things lose flying. Oh, it doesn't matter, because it's a trigger in taxi. Yeah, never mind. I think I'm being a little greedy right now. I think I do a Voyage's End on the Flyers. Yeah, and then we just bash in, right? Yeah, I think we'll do a Sea God's Revenge, bounce everything, except for the Omen speakers, and attack in. My opponent takes 9 damage, and then has a really tough time coming off the race because we still have a sip of Hemlock the following turn to kill something. It shouldn't be taking this long. And I like that it gets rid of the Ordeal as well. Disciple's good. Great for defense. Next turn, 2, possibly all 3 could come down. Alright. If a land's played, then we'll get to see all 3 of those guys again. Here comes the Pegasus. But each turn we get to be bashing in with our Kraken. Opponent gets in for 1, as should be happening. I'm happy to go ahead and play the Phalanx here. Means I'm taking 4 next turn, is that correct? I believe that's correct. But we're now at a point where we're putting a lot of pressure on my opponent. Interesting. Let's see what else my opponent has. We know about the Hoplite, which is probably what I'm going to remove. Doesn't have any lands in hand. I'm trying to think what I'm most scared about. Basically a pump spell of some kind. Ooh, Divine Verdict. That's going away because I don't care about the other guys. Hop and hip. Yes, I did hop hip, not hip hop. Sue me. Take 4, go down to 6. My opponent is able to play both of these cards now. But we still have good attacks, especially with Voyage's End taking 2 of the dudes out next turn, bouncing them, I mean. My opponent has to be aware of 6. So unfortunately, the Hippocamp is going to do some pretty decent work when it comes in. But I think we have this, right? Because the Hippocamp has to come into play in order to hit its block, right? And we're still able to bounce it before that happens, right? I think so. 6. We'll keep the Disciple back just in case. Oh, and my opponent didn't play the Hoplite down. Well, that's interesting. Does this matter? Well, I definitely want to be attacking in with both. And my opponent, I think, clicked through the blocks. Should have been done that at on the attacker step. Now my opponent's just dead. I think that was a mistake, right? Yeah, very confused there. Very confused, but not going to complain. Yay, yay, yay. Moving forward. I'm not too sure why all those Omen speakers are in the aggressive deck. Maybe it's because there's more Cavalry Pegasi than we saw. So, I'm worried about flyers. I have very few ways to deal with them, but I have a Viper's Kiss to take out a number of those flyers, so that guy's coming in. What else do I want? What is bad? What am I pulling out? Maybe I get rid of my splash? Oh, yeah, but this deals with the flyers also. Maybe Omen Speaker. I don't know. Helps me stay alive though, in case like a Battle-Wise Hoplite comes down early with an Ordeal on it. That's super scary. Maybe pull out the Griptide as being too slow. Yeah. I think get rid of the Griptide first and foremost. Anything else I want to switch? I don't believe so. Griptides are good though, against what my opponent's trying to do. But I think they're just too slow. I think I'd rather rely on my Voyage's End and a Viper's Kiss or something. And then keep the rest the same. Yep. That's what we're doing. My opponent definitely wants to play first here. I love having a Voyage's End up and being able to play my ass, but unfortunately we're going to have to mulligan this. This is okay, because we have a Baleflight on, and then as we draw lands, we'll be able to play our 3 and 4 drop, and the Kraken's just going to take a while to get there. Yeah, there's a land. So we have our first couple plays, ready to rock. I'm F6, because all there is a boon at 1 swamp. Hoplite would not be awesome here, but also not the end of the world. Care more about the favorite Hoplite, because of protection, but oh yeah, Cetizen Battle Priest, go for it. All day long, honey. All day long. So yes, my opponent's doing the Human Cavalry Pegasus deck, which means I want to kill Cavalry Pegasi when they come down. The only way I'd block the Battle Priest is if like an Ordeal or something scary gets put on it. Then I'm happy to do the 2 for 1. This Disciple is going to be insane. Fate Foretold, not as much caring. My opponent can draw a card, gain 2 cards, or gain 2 life, rather. And then I'll take 1 point of damage. That's okay. That's just fine. We'll be able to block that guy for days later when needed. No blocks. I might even get to attack back. And I do. How about that? Care more about this than anything else. My opponent can only have Triton tactics. Well, let's see if my opponent does. Still let my opponent waste a card on that. This double Disciple should be pretty decent. If my opponent doesn't unload a hand here with a bunch of 2-drops, which is certainly in the realm of possibility from what we saw from the first round. Excuse me, I just bumped my mic. Much apologies. Alright, I smoke 88. Now is the deciding factor. That ain't gonna do it for you, let me tell you. It's good, don't get me wrong, but plenty of ways to deal with it. We don't see the best card yet, but we'll get that next turn, right? Yeah. I'm curious as to what we see from my opponent here. Interesting that we're now getting caught up on time, considering I was 5 minutes behind originally. Counter target blue spell. 100-handed one. Okay. I think it'll be easy enough to play around Gainsay. And I really care more about 100-handed one coming down next turn. So this is the card that's going. Even though it's the one I mean, Gainsay is the only card that can be cast, but I can play around it with Shipbreaker Kraken whenever I want. And that being said, I think I attack in with the Fellhide Minotaur, right? Yeah, because I'm tapped out. My opponent's just going to block with a Priest. That seems silly. Should have thought of that before. So either draw some action next turn, which is always good. Or if I draw a land, I'll get to play my Amulet and the Disciple, which is pretty fine. Though I'm pretty sure the Disciple is just going to come down. Oh, I should make a note of what I saw. There's an Omen Speaker. That's fine. So I saw Gain, Hippo, and what was the other one? Uh-oh. I thought it was listed what's shown. I was just write these here so they're easier access. Oh goodness, I totally forgot. It was a 4, right? Something that couldn't be played. Gainsay was the main trick. Emissary is good. Well, I guess we're just going to have to look again, which is what I want to do anyway. Talk about just piling on the weights. As in waiting. Oh yeah, it was the Alciad. I think the Pegasus is the one I care the most about now because I can't do the flyers. Again, Gainsay I can play around. So, goodbye, Pegasus. And, yeah. Al, as in Alciad. And then we'll just pass the turn. I might want to play the Amulet next turn in order to get a land and save my Emissary for later. Alright, we know exactly what my opponent has. Oh, but here's 5. So I think we'll just do both. Right? Because Emissary doesn't have to bestow, but I kind of like it. Bestowing on an Eidolon. Yeah, why not? We're in no rush, really. We still don't have attack, sadly. Here comes the Hippo Camp. Go for it, buddy boy. Alciad could get pretty good. Make something huge. Probably the Battle-Wise Hoplite, but thanks to our Baleful Eidolon, I'm not worried unless it's a flyer. If my opponent wants to be tapping out, ooh, Daxus, that's a good card. And it can't be blocked by creatures with power 3 or greater, so Eidolon's kind of key against Daxus. And then when it attacks, it gets a whole lot of goodness, which we don't ever want Daxus to deal combat damage. That's my game plan. And we have plenty of things, though, that are power 3 or less to block, so that'll be good for us. And we still know what's in my opponent's hand. I think next turn the Kraken's going to come down because my opponent doesn't have Gainsay up, so that's where we're at. And then we'll start really getting into business. We'll grab a forest in case we draw our Asp. I'm going to hold on to the Omen Speaker for an Emissary discard, probably. And then soon enough, we can attack with this guy. Right now, there's a whole lot of defense, but we'll start making that an okay thing. Alright, there's 5 mana, so the Alciad can start coming down. Need to protect Baleful Eidolon. Oh, putting it on the Battle-Wise Hoplite. That's fascinating. But you can't attack with that ever. Interesting. If I have a 9/9, they can become an 11/11. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 5. My opponent can wipe the board with it. I still think that'll be a good situation for me. Owl's gone. Yeah, I'm going to put the Emissary on the Shipbreaker Kraken and attack. I know it's putting a lot of eggs in one basket, but I don't want to make any of these guys not be able to block Daxus, in case there's a Sea God's Revenge coming at some point. Omen Speaker's there to discard anyway, and having a 9/9 that's huge. My opponent has to put everything in front of it, and I don't want to say discard Keepsake Organ, but I don't see my opponent like clearing a board for that. So jump. That's what we wanted. That is grand. Lash of the Whip. That's also grand. Just going to keep bashing in with my 9/9. Lash will help play around anything silly. Discard Omen Speaker, first chance I get. There is a Divine Verdict. That could happen, but that's going to take the Kraken at some point anyway. If my opponent just wants to keep chump blocking all day, I'm very okay with that. Yeah. Another Hippocamp. Okay. Five, 6, 7, 8, 9. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Just counting for future if my opponent would have, for some reason, wanted to block anything like that. Still a Gainsaying in hand for my opponent. I'm not looking to play blue spells anytime soon. The Voyage's End might get drawn. Vaporkin. Well, now there's a clock. But my opponent still only has Gainsay. So feel pretty good being able to have Lash of the Whip and some discards here. Would also like another land, but whatever. Do I attack in with Keepsake Organ? Does that do anything? Nah, we'll just wait till it gets monstrositied. And for now, continue our major Mundo beats. Draw the game out, since we have such a stacked hand. Anyway. Because we can either draw action or we get to draw lands, which lands are actually pretty good for us. Let's scry. Kind of a bummer that's happening now, but whatever. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'll put on the bottom because next turn I'll probably just use the Keepsake Organ anyway. And we're likely to draw a land sooner than later. Yeah. And we're just going to continue beats with Big Fatty. We know my opponent has Gainsay in hand. There's nothing I'm scared of with what we were able to discard with Emissary and Lash of the Whip. If my opponent just wants to let my Shipbreaker Kraken eat something every single turn, I'm okay with that. Oh, here comes a card. That's not great, but that's also okay. If only this guy had Trample. But for now, we're fine. I think I'm going to use the Keepsake Gorgon to kill the Battlewise Hoplite. Yeah, probably. First I'll probably attack. Viper's Kiss. That's cool. I'm using this right now just so that my opponent can't chump with that. Interesting. Something else. Oh, Triton Tactics. Go for it. An odd thing to do. But hey, it gets a card out of my opponent's hand. Still attacking in with the Kraken. Chumping with Daxus. I guess my opponent realizes, I mean, it's just a 2-2 at this point. There's really not a lot that Daxus is going to be able to do. But it's also the 2-1s that means that my guy gets to untap now. Now there's just a 6-6 on the table that no one cares about. I don't want to be too hubristic here, but I think it's going to be really hard not to lose this game. I'm trying to think what my opponent could have. There's no sweeper in the format, right? I mean, I guess Elspeth could come down and then things get really tricky. But even with that kind of a board state, we should be in good shape. Here comes a Chimera. Yeah, and now with Gainsay being the only thing available, I'm just going to go ahead and Lash of the Whip, Prescient Chimera, and then we're going to be able to use Keepsake Organ to kill the Battle Ice Hoplite, and there's only a dorky 2-2. And we have an Asp. And then who gets to attack in now? Everybody besides the Baleful Eidolon? Okay. Okay, so my opponent has nothing. Is that game? 9, 10, 11, 12. 13. Yeah, that's everything. GG's. Cool. See you in round 2.